Hello, how y'all doing? Hello? Can everyone hear me? Because I'm having some connection problems. If you don't mind letting me know. Hi, Tyrell. God, my internet is so shitty right now. All right, okay. Audio is working. That's all that I need. Hello. How are y'all doing? Okay. Jordan says it's a little choppy, but sounding better. That's good. As long as it's getting better. Yeah, it's got to be the weather. Have you noticed everything seems to break when it's miserable outside? Yes, Lola. Lola's right here. Hold on. But yeah, like it doesn't have to be like a horrible storm or anything. But if it's uncomfortable enough for you to go outside and be miserable, then everything's gonna break. Your internet's gonna go to shit. Your car's gonna break down. Something awful is going to happen. And I don't understand why it's so intrinsically linked with the weather. Like some people get depressed just because it's raining. Like who designed that? That's how you know that either A, there is no God, or B, he exists and he is an asshole. Like lately I've been leaning a little bit more towards the second one. But no. Anyways, sorry I didn't do the live stream thing yesterday. I was originally going to, but then I felt really bad. Like I had a headache, and it's entirely my own fault. I just decided not to eat food because Andreas said that he was going to make soup, and I was like, well, I want to be starving so that I can fully enjoy this soup. And so that's what I did, but I had like a hunger migraine. But do any of you guys ever do that? Like do you ever like anticipate something and you make yourself suffer just to make that thing a little better? It's like hunger edging. Please speak Spanish. Uh, Hola, ¿cómo estás? I'm I'm learning Spanish, but I'm really bad. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Uh, I'm trying to learn Spanish, but I'm bad at speaking. I'm trying to get a little better. Uh, that of course none of this is in Spanish, so I'm already doing an awful job. Uh, yo hablo uh, poquito español, pero I'm trying. Oh, there's Andreas. Hi, Lola's right there. Andreas peeked in. Now you gotta let Lola out. God damn it! Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I'm all bundled up because it's fucking freezing. I'm trying to stay warm. But yeah, anyways, I'm trying to learn Spanish, and I'm sorry that I don't know as much as I'd like, but I'm working on it. Actually, I know who messaged that, so I'm going to say hi real fast. There we go. Anyways, so how's everyone doing? Oh, I was talking about hunger edging. Do any of you guys like ever do like a thing where you make yourself suffer in order to make something better? Hi, Mom. My mom's here. Because I was talking about knowing that I was going to have soup, and so I made it so that I didn't eat anything all day in order to make the soup eating experience better. Ooh. All right, that's a good one. I won't eat if we go to Texas Roadhouse. We got to get those rolls. Those rolls are the best. I have often contemplated going to Texas Roadhouse, ordering a water, getting the rolls, and like pretending that I just can't decide what I want for food, but like just refilling the rolls over and over again, and then just pretend you have like some family emergency and you're like, I'm so sorry, I have to go. But get a to-go box for the rolls. Oh, my mom says I won't eat if we're going to Fuji Steakhouse. Yeah, see, like there's certain things that just warrant, you got to save up for it, you know? It makes it so much better. Oh, they say hi, Lola. Lola is no longer in the room, but I will tell her that you said hi. Ooh, Kat said that she made soup today. What kind of soup did you make? And also, sharing is caring. I have 2 different kinds of soup at my house because Andreas made excuse me, Andreas made soup yesterday, but then also my friend Brooke made soup and she decided to bring some. So I've got a lot of soup, but you can never have too much soup unless you're drowning. I do agree, Mom. The rice at Fuji Steakhouse, I'm pretty sure they make it with cocaine. Why don't we just order the rice? Like, I don't need any of the other stuff. All right, Kat said that she made garbanzo bean soup. I'm going to post a video in a little bit of the recipe. Ooh, okay. So check out Kat's profile and social medias. I'm assuming that you're going to put it on not just Facebook, but also Instagram, right? Yeah, if you want some garbanzo. I can't say garbanzo and not think of the Muppet Gonzo. And then whenever I think of the Muppet Gonzo, I think of there was this is already going to be TMI, but there's this guy that whenever I talk about him, I refer to him as Gonzo because of the size and shape of his dick was a lot like Gonzo's nose. But anyways, I don't think he knows that that's how I refer to him, so I'm not going to use names here. Thank you, Kat. I want to be souped up. Anytime. Seriously, everyone should check out Kat's stuff. She does a lot of cool stuff. She's doing some fun musical things. I don't know if it's like a spoiler or anything, but yeah, good stuff. Oh, my mom said that she made eggplant roll-ups. I don't know what that is, an eggplant roll-up, but it sounds good. Very cheesy. You can never have too much cheese. But yeah, as I was saying, though, sorry I didn't get on here yesterday like I was supposed to. I just didn't feel good, and then I was eating soup, and then friends were here, so we ended up playing Jackbox, which is always a good time. I know that if Jordan is still watching, he would disagree, but I like Jackbox. It's fun. It's good, simple fun. But I like the more open-ended ones. Like, for anyone who's familiar with Jackbox games, they're like collections of games where you can connect with your phone, and some of them are trivia, where you just answer the questions and stuff. But some of them are more open-ended, where you have like a prompt and then you put in usually like funny phrases and things like that. But my favorite games in the Jackbox pack are the ones that are like very open-ended. Like there's some where you can draw whatever the hell you want, and that usually ends up turning into some kind of hilarity. But my absolute favorite, which nobody likes to play, but my favorite is one, I think it's called Talking Points. But everyone who's playing has to give a PowerPoint presentation. Like they have to stand up in front of everybody and give a presentation, but they don't know what's going to be in the presentation, so they have to just like kind of improvise their way through it. And I always just think it's hilarious because it combines all of my favorite things. Like I love nerdy shit, like just presentations and TED Talks and things like that. I love a good PowerPoint. I love a good slideshow. But also, I love just like awkward, cringy, like secondhand embarrassment. I like it when people are nervous for no good reason. And just like getting people to stand up in front of people and give a presentation, it makes everybody scared, and I love that. I think it's just hysterical. Okay, my mom answered the question about what eggplant roll-ups are. So she says it's kind of like eggplant parmesan without the breading and simple to make. Oh, okay. Well, that's great. I fucking love eggplant. Kat says, speaking of improvising, think we could gather a group for some cringy improv games? Yes. Yes. Actually, instead of yes, I'm going to say fuck yes. Actually, when? Like, we can plan it. We can make like a little Facebook event. If anyone in the chat is like lives around us, let us know if you're interested in doing like a weird improv thing. That sounds fun. I get really nervous, and I think that's part of the fun, honestly. But I used to love performing and things like that, but like I don't like the anticipation of it, and I especially don't like being told what to do. And so like when I was in high school, I used to be in a lot of like school plays and things like that. But I hated the process. Like I liked once I was on stage, once I was in character, it was nice because then I could just like do a thing. But I hated memorizing lines and being told, "Oh, you have to stand here and do this thing," and so I was probably really annoying to work with because, like, literally up until the day before a performance, I would not know my lines. I wouldn't know where to stand. But then it would just click on the day of the performance. Lola's barking in the background. I'm sorry. But it would just kind of click, and then it would be kind of fun. And I probably improvised a lot more than fall. Okay. Is it back? I think it's back. All right. Anyways, I remember when I was in high school, I used to like playing around with like public access television, and I tried to gather a group of people together to do like an improv show. And the idea was to have it be like a monthly thing that would air on TV. And even though it never aired on TV, I have a disc with like video footage of like my friend group in high school doing improv, and some of the skits are like hilarious. And I remember my boyfriend at the time, Nick, he was in a skit with shit, who's he with? like a group of people, and it was like a classroom skit thing, but that was hilarious. And he was like the disruptive child, and he like randomly had like a bongo drum that he would pull out. It was like stupid and random, like the Amanda Show, like that kind of very like low level humor, but I think it's fun. But then there was another sketch that we did, or sketch. I don't know what the difference is. Where Alex, those of you who know Alex Wolf, he was like this elderly woman who had slept with like every man on every continent, and she was like reflecting on her previous lovers, and he was wearing this wig, but it was like a thing where somebody else was controlling his arms, so like they would put their arms through like his arms, so they would like gesture and he would like talk and stuff like that. And that one was really funny. But anyways, just all kinds of random shit. But I digress. Oh, thanks, Amanda. I think that I can only be as good as the people around me. And so I'll say that. And I know that we had a lot of fun when we were on stage together. What was it? Miss Mush? Was that the name of the the? Oh my God! There was a play that we were in, the Wayside or Sideways Stories from Wayside School or whatever, and Amanda were you the cafeteria lady, but you were like obsessed with my character, and you made this cake for me out of pure love, but it was the most disgusting cake. And it was like a legit cake that someone made, but it had like hair in it and like just all kinds of nasty things. And like this cake was the same cake that we would use as a prop like for weeks and weeks and weeks. So this cake got really disgusting. But that was fun. One of the few times that I have kissed a woman. And I think like half of the times that I've kissed a woman have been on stage, and Amanda is one of the lucky few. Or I guess you kissed me. Cass says that I'm pretty good on the fly. Thank you. I think I'm better at improvising in life than I am with like acting. I don't know. I'm out of practice. It's been a really long time, so maybe I'll surprise myself. But I feel like I'm really good at coming up with like puns or like stupid wordplay. But I don't know. I haven't acted in a really, really, really long time. Aside from when I'm like staring into the mirror and giving weird monologues and making myself cry, which I do on occasion. I suggest it, actually. I recommend it. It's therapeutic. Celeste says that she remembers Ariel forcing me to learn my lines. It was like the most stressful thing. And not because like Ariel's great and I appreciate her helping me, but it was stressful because like I knew that I needed to know my lines, but I just didn't want to do it. And I hated it. And like going there and sitting, and then I know that Ariel would get all upset because she's like, you know this. I know that you know this. And I'm like, I just can't. My brain doesn't work. Like I think the problem is I need to be under pressure. And like, unless I have to do something, then my brain's just not going to let me do it. And so like, I might know my lines, but I can't recall them at all unless I'm like on stage and in the moment, I guess. Maybe that's the problem. Lydia says hi. Hello, Lydia. How you doing? You missed it. We were talking about some sauce. Both Kat and my mom have some special recipes that they were sharing. God, excuse me. Oh, you're talking about the character. I'm like, oh, you just wanted to kiss me. Miss Mush wanted to kiss me. Oh, my mom says that I was the best Scrooge ever on stage. I remember making a small child cry because I scared the shit out of her. That was my favorite part. Like I would go around in the audience and I would like yell at people, and because like we did a Christmas Carol, and the way that it would start is like all the actors would be on stage, but I wasn't on stage. I was in the audience, and that's how it would start. I would walk through the audience with this cane, and I was this angry old man. That was a really fun role because I got to be angry and yell at people. But it was good. I kind of miss it. I kind of miss performing, honestly. Oh, thank you. Eventually, I'll share my music. I have like I think seven songs like ready to go, but we'll see. Oh, of course. Whose line is it anyway? Anybody who hasn't watched the show is probably living under a rock or something. But yeah, if anyone wants to check out an improv show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? I think What's His Face finally came out of the closet. He was like the least gay out of everyone on stage, but I can't remember his name. But anyways. Well, see, I would have gone into theater, but there's like nothing around here. Absolutely nothing. And nobody wants to hire me to do the things that I want to do. Like I don't want to I don't know how to explain this, but like I want to be involved in stuff that I think is like fun or challenging, or and by challenging I mean like I want to make people uncomfortable. And I feel like most people don't want, like, that's not their goal. They want like something, usually to sell something. Like I feel like most acting gigs that are readily available are all for like marketing purposes and things like that. And I don't want to do that. Like this right here, what I'm doing, this live stream, is like the closest that I would get to like that kind of personality. But even this is, I just want to hang out. But I don't know. I don't want to be told what to do, and like that's really hard as an actor. You know? And so I think that's why I never got into theater. But I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm sad that you missed it too, Lydia. Oh, look, spam. This is just a bunch of spam. Gory Carton B. Fuck you. You're just a bot. Sorry. I don't have like the controls to remove them. So there's that. That's so annoying. Okay, so that actually brings up something that I'm like terrified of. This whole, so I love AI. I love artificial intelligence as a concept. I love robots and animatronics, and I love the idea of machine learning and computers and all that stuff. I love it. I think it's really freaking cool. It just sucks that like we have really cool technology. We can create some really compelling things, and the most common versions of it are always like the shittiest version. And I hate that. Like, how come any good thing, any good idea, or any cool thing, it'll always be turned into something shitty? And that pisses me off. Like AI is awesome. And now it's like, oh, but AI is taking your job, and it's plagiarizing, and it's stealing the work of artists all over the place, and nobody's being compensated for it. It's like, that sucks. But AI is cool. This is why I think we need to just get rid of money, because then it doesn't matter. Like, then people can just create whatever they want, and if an AI wants to create something, it's fine. Credit for your work no longer means necessarily what it means now, because money's not attached to it, so you don't have to worry about making a living. We need either no money or universal basic income, and then I feel like that'll solve all those problems. But because we live in this capitalistic society, and I'm sorry, I'm going on a weird rant now, but and I'm sure that Kat's probably very proud of me right now because I mentioned capitalism and how shitty it is. But like, we live in a capitalistic society, and so it just causes all these problems. And then people are always trying to like not gamify. What's the word? They're trying to game the system. And any time that we have cool technology, I feel like people are going to use it to try to make a quick buck. And that involves scamming and ripping off people. And I hate that. And so what's his face on here? The stupid bot that left that stupid comment. Like, that's not a human, first of all. That's some random computer program that's like just going on things, and it's tasked with copy and paste a little comment. And then they try to get people to click on a thing, and then it's a scam, and then they steal people's money. And it sucks that it's out of necessity because people need money. And if we didn't fucking have that, then we wouldn't run into that problem, and then nobody would use AI for that kind of shit. They would use it for cool shit. Like, yesterday, I made pictures of Lola, my dog, using AI, and I wanted to do like movie posters as if she was like in Kill Bill, or some like murderous action movie or something. And then I made an image of Lola surfing, and I made an image of Lola on the moon and shit like that. And like, I'm not profiting off of it or anything. I probably could. I know at least a handful of people would buy a poster of Lola on the moon. I would buy a poster of Lola on the moon, but I'm not going to do that. But still, like, it's fun for like fun shit like that. And like the other day, and Alec knows this because I sent it to him, even though he says big iron on this hip, and I still have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. But the other day, I saw an AI-generated photo of Cookie Monster, but he had his tits out, but it was like boobies, but they were made of cookies, and they looked so delicious. So I sent it to him, and then he didn't want to be my friend anymore. But anyways, I got a little carried away there, so I'm gonna go back in the comments and see what the hell people are saying. Kat says, let's write and perform our own stuff. Freedom. Yes, that's yeah, that's what I want to do. But again, to kind of tie it all back together, I used to do that. I used to write and perform my own things, not necessarily like, I mean, I wrote a play once, but like not necessarily plays, but I used to do like more podcasting things, and I had like audio stories, and I had my Diaries of a Trophy Whore podcast, which was written and performed by myself. I also made the music for it, but I like doing those things for fun. I would love to do those things for money, but there's no money in it, and that sucks because it almost feels like I get in my head about it, and I get really sad when I think about it. But like, if I'm going to devote so much of my time and energy to something, I want it to be able to keep me alive, like financially. And I was giving so much of my time and energy to this thing that wasn't giving me any money. And that kind of made me really upset. So I dropped a lot of those projects. And I do want to get back into podcasting because it's pretty low effort, at least on my part, because it's essentially the same thing that I'm doing now, but like a conversation with somebody, and it's a little bit more of a guided conversation. But like, with a specific topic and stuff. But when it comes to like actually writing and carrying out a story or a script, like I really love doing that. I do that for fun. I write little poems or little stories, and sometimes I post them on Facebook. I would love to do that, but if I'm going to be doing that and putting it out there, I want to make money for it. And I know that sucks. I hate having that mindset, but like, and I do it for free, obviously, for myself and my own benefit. But if I'm putting it out there, like I want to be paid for my work. Like that's, and again, I hate having that mindset, but I mean, that's the world that we live in. So I have to do that. And so, yeah, there's that. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that, but I don't know. That's how I feel about it right now, at least. Amanda says, "Ooh, that show we watched in Florida, it's a play and everything goes wrong. That was a great improv." Yeah, yeah. I think it's just called the Goes Wrong Show. But yeah, I love that show and I think it's hilarious. Really amazing set design too. The way that everything gloriously falls apart is great. Sauce. I just want to say sauce. I love a good sauce. Okay. How come the machines are making art and we're working in factories? Well, I just explained it. It's because of money. A machine doesn't have to survive within capitalism. Like it doesn't have to survive. A human has to survive, and unfortunately, we've created a scenario in which we need money in order to survive. And so we do the shitty work. The AI gets to do all the fun stuff, and they don't even have to feed themselves. They can literally just do the fun stuff all day, every day, and they don't have to worry about it. It's annoying. But I don't want to talk about the sad stuff. Can we talk about happy stuff? Let's do happy stuff. Down with capitalism. I guess that's happy. I don't. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year. I really would like to see some kind of a genuine movement towards some like universal basic income. I feel like 2020, when we were getting the whatchamacallits, the financial aid during the pandemic, it felt like what universal basic income could be. And everyone's saying, oh, that's going to destroy the economy, whatever. It's a bunch of bullshit because honestly, right now, even though it's a big talking point for people to say, oh, nothing is affordable and everything's going awful, the economy is actually doing good, which is weird. It's really weird. We've like recovered pretty well from the pandemic and everything seems to be going fine. And it's like settled. The dust has settled. But there have even been like a lot of what should we call it? Like people who look at the economy. What the fuck are the economists? Jesus Christ. Economists and analysts who have looked at how we've recovered from COVID financially, like as far as the US economy. And they're surprised because everyone's talking about how bad the economy is. But when they look at any of these indicators that we have to kind of tell us how the economy is really doing, almost all of it's pretty positive. I mean, it's remarkable. And I think that a lot of this negative talk about the economy is mostly it's like generalized in the same way that we can be like, oh, the government sucks. But sometimes the government doesn't suck, and sometimes the government's doing pretty all right. I'm curious how that statement is going to age this year, but we'll see. But anyways, it's kind of the same thing when we talk about the economy and things like that. And I mean, maybe even capitalism. Capitalism has its pros and its cons, but I think the real problem that people have is with inequality, and I think that unfortunately, in a capitalistic society in which a government doesn't govern equally or fairly, then we get a lot of like manipulating the system. And I think that's the real problem. Like my enemy isn't necessarily capitalism; it's the capitalism that we live in now, and like the lack of accountability. But I feel like that was rambly. I feel like that was rambly. But if anyone wants me to elaborate on any of those thoughts, obviously none of this is planned. I'm just shooting the shit. Kat says, "OMG, I love everything you're saying. Keep speaking." Do you still feel that way though? This comment is a little older, but yeah, I think that generally speaking, people. Actually, Alex said we live in a society. Quote. yeah, I think a lot of people like to kind of shit talk the systems that are in place and things like that. But I think I'm going to use one of my favorite words. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And I think that some of the things that we have are nice and they could work if only we would just like fine tune it and actually like fucking work to maintain it. That's a big problem. Like, I don't mind highways and roads, but like, you got to maintain that shit. Otherwise, it's just fucking annoying, you know? Oh, somebody angry reacted. I don't know who, because I can't see, but somebody angry reacted. Ooh. Oh, actually, it was Alec Jansen. Okay. I don't. That's fine. You can be angry, Alec. Big iron on my hip. On his hip. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. And I'm not going to Google it. So I'm just going to live in disappointment. My mom says it's a whole new world and a sad world at that. I don't think so. I think that things are generally speaking about the same as they've always been. It's like it's same shit, different day. Like it might look a little different, but it feels the same. In my opinion, at least like the majority of my life, I feel like there's always been like the same struggles, just like different labels thrown at them. I think people have always struggled with money. There's always been like wealth inequality in the United States, pretty much from the get-go. There's always been, you know, racism. There's always been predators, but now the predators have the internet. There's always been murderers, but now the murderers have machine guns. You know, it's like it's the same problems, just different tools to execute the problems, I guess. I don't know. I think that sometimes it can be a little dangerous looking at things with rose-tinted glasses because it's very easy to say things were better. Things were better back then, and I've done this too. I've felt, and sometimes I do feel the same way. But I think it's important to kind of remove yourself from that and think about things like, okay, well, those things have led us here. And what's great about here and right now is we actually have some agency and we exist in the now. So we have the ability to do something about it. And we maybe didn't have that in the past, you know? And we have that more and more and more. We have that ability larger and larger the more that we live because we have more information and we have learned more. And so maybe it is a new world, but is it a sad world? It doesn't have to be. We can change it. We can change our perspective. We can change, you know, how we interact with it. We can, I don't know. I read a story. A friend of mine on Facebook carries glitter in their pocket, and she's like a waitress or something, or maybe a bartender. I don't know. But if she hears that it's somebody's birthday, she takes the glitter out and she makes it sparkle. Like that doesn't sound like a sad world to me. That's cool. And somebody's making a decision to make something a little bit more magical. And I know that, you know, throwing glitter at someone for their birthday is a little bit different than, you know, solving the world's inequalities and stopping world hunger and nuclear warfare and shit like that. But I don't know. I think that it's nice to know that we have some agency and that we exist now so we can do something about now to make it better. If any of that makes sense. Kat says, if there's a picture out there of Lola with a samurai sword, I want it. I will send it to you. Just remind me. Alex said you don't need to tell people what we talk about. I think you're referring to the Cookie Monster with the tits. It's okay. I'm not going to share the worst things that we've talked about. I'm just going to let that hang there. Anyways, I'm going to skip down a little bit because I'm a little bit behind on the comments. My mom says stimulus, not everyone got it. That wasn't good. The economy now is not good. Not entirely true. There's a lot of economists who No, what happens is people are saying that it's bad, but the indicators are showing that it's not bad. It's the opposite of what you're saying, at least according to my understanding. And I've like the general public is pretty down on the economy, but I have several friends who just recently bought houses. I was able to buy a business. Like those things don't happen in a bad economy. You know what I mean? Like and gas I think is relatively affordable now. I feel like it was worse and it's gotten better. So I don't know. What about the Jewish tunnels? I don't know anything about that. I don't know what that means. All right. I don't know if I just shared something heinous. Like okay, scrolling down. Hi, Cece. Cece says hi. I'm saying hi. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. It's a nuanced conversation, but institutions that are in place can evolve. There are lots of issues with capitalism, but we don't have to reinvent the wheel entirely. Just fill in the gaps. I like that. Yeah. It's really nice to know that we have, we're not helpless. We can feel helpless, but we're not entirely helpless. And I'm extremely thankful to live in a country where, as much as people want to push the idea that we are helpless, I think we're not helpless yet. Just don't let them convince you that you are. That's the big thing. There's a lot of people who want you to believe that we're helpless and there's some big conspiracy, and I think that that's important. If you ask yourself, okay, who's telling me that I'm helpless? Who's telling me that there's a conspiracy against me or my people? Like, who's telling me these things? And I think you'll quickly find out who is shitty based on who's telling you those things. And then ask yourself, okay, well, who's telling me, okay, you are capable? Who's telling me, okay, let's talk about solutions. Let's think of something. I think that the most harmful people are the people who believe that they have all of the answers. And if somebody isn't willing to have a conversation, they're just willing to do a thing and tell you that they're the only ones who can do the thing. That's a pretty good indicator. It's a red flag that they're a shitty person and they do not have your best interest at heart. So when you're listening to politicians, especially, ask yourself, okay, well, who's claiming to have all the answers and who's the one asking the questions? The question asker is the good one. I can guarantee it. In most cases. Whoops. My mom says, I think it's sad and my glasses are not tinted. I base this on my day-to-day. I think, yeah, she says I've been around a while. I mean, that's fair. But I also think it's hard not to be biased. Anyone, myself included. It's hard not to be biased. And I think that it's very, very easy to fall into the trap of reminiscing on the past. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean that you're helpless in the now. I think that that's important to remember. Cece says, I look for the glimmers in life. And she says, I want to be glitter bombed. But yeah. My mom says things are harder for us older people. Do you mind elaborating? She says, my wallet is saying it's bad. We can't downsize. The economy sucks. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, feel free to elaborate. I know that that's a lot, and you don't have to if you don't want to. But I would argue that you could downsize. I mean, I think that you could downsize if you want to. You don't necessarily want to, and I'm not saying that you have to. But everybody makes decisions on how they spend their money or the way that they do things, and people can cut corners here and there. I mean, I could have an extra $200, or I could buy the PlayStation Portal, and I bought the PlayStation Portal because I wanted it. And like, I don't need that. Even if I want to have entertainment, I don't need that. Like, I already have a PlayStation, and I don't even need that. I have a phone, which I don't even need. But well, actually, I would argue that a phone is almost becoming a necessity in modern day. But I don't need the phone that I have, the exact phone that I have. But anyways, if the goal is entertainment, I have several ways to get entertainment. And so, I don't need these things, but I want those things, and I can get those things. And yes, I don't have the most money in the world, but I'm able to take care of my wants and needs for the most part. And I would argue that, you, and I'm talking to my mom here, but also the royal you, I would argue that you can do the same for the most part. I mean, anybody who's tuning into this live chat has either a phone or a computer and internet, and they are spending their time watching a live stream of somebody talking about this. Like, that means that you have leisure time, you have money for internet, you have an electronic device that probably costs more than $100, probably. Like, you don't need those things. And if you have those things, then there's a good chance that you're not that poorly, like, you're not that bad off. It's just a matter of perspective. And like, things can feel tight and difficult and things like that, but like, if the shit hit the fan and everything went to hell, and I like desperately needed money, like desperately, like I was going to starve to death, I could sell my shit. I could downsize my house. I could work at Amazon and get a job almost immediately because they hire almost anybody. Like, shit like that. Like, and so I think that those are indicators that, okay, I still have freedom. I still have, I'm still in a relatively functioning economy, things like that. So yeah, there's an entire side conversation happening about Alien versus Predator. At least I'm assuming. Has anyone seen the new Predator movie? Because it was actually really good. And the Predator game, I can't remember what it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like one of those asymmetrical online games. Actually, a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's like not the best game in the world, but it's fun. Anyways, my mom says, not biased. Daddy is 68 and still can't retire. To buy a smaller home would cost us almost triple what we paid for this humongous house that we have. And then it says, and Daddy makes an awesome living and he works his ass off. He's tired. I don't want to poke and prod or anything, but I think people can make decisions, and they I think people are really good at enabling the life that they want, and whether that's conscious or not. I think that to some extent, Dad likes to work. And I mean, just like me, I like to work. I also like to complain about work, and I also like to not work. But we make decisions that kind of enable the life that we want. And right now, I think that there's certain things that we all do that we may not like, but it enables the things that we want to do with our time and things like that. And I think that the Dad has a lot of I'm talking about my family on this public live chat, Jesus. But I think that my dad and myself, and like I think most people have a lot of pride in the work that they do, and they get a lot of emotional feedback, and they have like a sense of community around their work. I felt the same way about GameStop, actually, and it wasn't providing financially, but I kind of justified it as a necessity in my head because of all of these other things that it was giving me, and I just did not want to compromise at all. But when I lost that job and I got fired from GameStop, when I lost that job, it kind of put me in like necessity mode, and then I figured shit out. And I think that people get very comfortable with their lives the way that they are, and they're not really willing to compromise unless forced. And I feel like any scenario in which you're not forced to change is, I would argue, a comfortable scenario. Like it's not a disaster, it's not and I would say the same thing about like an economy. If you are not forced to make any changes in your life for financial reasons, like big changes, like legitimate big changes, then you're not necessarily financially struggling, but if you like actually have to make like if I ever sell my PlayStation, then that I am financially struggling. And right now I'm, financially struggling. Right now I don't have a lot of money, but it's not in the danger zone, if that makes sense. Cue the music. But anyways. Ooh, shots fired. Should I share this? I'm sharing it. Okay. Someone said, well, your generation killed the housing market, so you all kind of did it to yourself. Oof. I don't want like a tit for tat. I don't want to point fingers and point blame. I want to keep the emphasis on the now. Like, yes, a lot of things happened in the past that, there are long-term consequences that affect generations and generations and generations into the future. But like, what can we do now? And honestly, like, I think that the housing market has, I mean, it's gone up and down, but again, like I have a handful of friends on Facebook who are not like particularly like extremely well off, but they bought houses, and there's an argument to be made about whether or not privilege was involved in that, or external financial security and things, but people are still buying houses, and not just rich people. So there's that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert in the housing market or anything, but I don't know. I don't want the conversation to go down a scummy route. I don't want to point fingers or anything. But yeah, I do think that I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm just saying it's difficult for anyone to purchase a home, buy groceries, etc. It's hard to pay $1,600 rent for 2-bedroom. Families are struggling. The economy is not good, and that's all. A big change is retiring. If daddy retires, no health insurance for me because of my age, so there's a lot to consider. Yeah, there are a lot of things to consider. That's true. Oh, damn. Celeste says, my dad invested in Bitcoin, and that's how I got a house. I have mixed feelings about that, but I'm glad that it resulted in you getting a house. But Jesus Christ, I don't know how I feel about all this cryptocurrency, and I have very mixed feelings. I feel like it's like, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about pretty much anything, but I feel like everything is just a ticking time bomb, and we're just waiting for it to explode. But like, there are rewards for going into the room with the bomb and seeing how long you can sit with it. and then leaving before it explodes. Nobody knows when it's going to explode. But the longer you sit with it, the more reward there is. And I feel like you can say the same thing with cryptocurrency. You can say the same thing about the housing market, or you can say the same thing about global warming or nuclear warfare. Like all these big things, we're just like sitting in a room with a ticking bomb and nobody knows when it's going to explode. But we seem to really like sitting with it and then leaving before we explode. But someone's going to explode. And I don't like that. Kat says, speaking of houses, when's your next dance party? I don't know, but maybe this week. I don't know. I love my dance parties. Ugh. I just like moving and I like music. I like not worrying about how I look to other people. That's why I like dancing at home instead of out in public. Because I'm not going to get yelled at for taking my shirt off. Well, I mean, I might still get yelled at, but I'm not going to get arrested. My mom says, I feel bad for all you younger generation. Don't feel bad for us. I mean, I appreciate the worry, and I appreciate, I love that you want the best for people. I love that. But you don't have to feel bad. Like all things considered, and just speaking for myself, I think I'm okay. I think I think that life is okay, So yeah, so you don't have to feel bad for that, I think that things could be a hell of a lot worse. Things could always be a hell of a lot better, but I have video games. I have Lola, I have a place to live. I have my family, you don't have to feel bad for that. Oh, I think I might have lost connection. Is everything okay? Jesus. Okay. I don't know if there's something wrong with my internet or not, but Alexander says, hi, Steven. How are you doing tonight? Hello. I'm doing all right. I feel like we've been on a little bit of a roller coaster today with the topics, but I guess you could say the same thing about last week too. Kat says that I have the best dance parties. Thank you. Spread the word. I want more people to dance with. Alex says, dang, why don't we get a Predator hunting movie where Predator isn't the antagonist? That would be cool. Veronica says, funniest improv show ever. Loved watching this with my parents. I'm assuming that you're talking about Whose Line Is It Anyway? And yes. God, that's actually a really old show now that I think about it. Because I remember watching that with my parents, but like, I feel like I was a baby. Like, I feel like I was like not even aware that I was alive and I was still watching it. Huh. Kat says, as long as one is still alive, they can change the game around. Yes. Yes. Jordan said, this is in response to the Predator conversation. I feel like now there's like so many different things happening. But, I mean, they're just hunting. I don't think they view themselves as antagonistic. That's true. They're just trying to hunt. So I guess technically if the threat were something that also threatened humans, then Predator would be basically the hero if they're eliminating the threat. But then once they eliminate the threat, then they go back to hunting humans. So it's kind of, you know, tomato tomato at that point. But I mean, if it's like a terrifying like Cthulhu or something, and then Predator was hunting that, then by all means do it, and then you'd be a hero. My mom says a lot of you don't even have health insurance. That's true, and I could probably do more on my end to make myself have health insurance. Like there's routes that I can take, but honestly, I think that the biggest contributor to young people not having health insurance, I honestly don't even think it's money. I think it's that people believe and are convinced that it's a scam, and so we don't want to even engage. And we don't value our health as much as other things, which sounds shitty, but I mean, like, we don't value health insurance, I should say, as much as other things. Like, it is illegal to drive a car without car insurance, so we would rather have car insurance than health insurance because a car is more important than maybe going to the emergency room, if that makes sense. But yeah, not a fan of insurance at all. It's essentially the same as gambling, except the only way to win is to lose, because it's only financially beneficial if something hurts you or destroys your property. And I think that that's a weird way to live. Like there's a better system out there, and I don't think insurance is it. I think insurance is just it's a bunch of bullshit. It's a lottery ticket repackaged, but it's like a subscription service lottery ticket where somebody else is holding your money, and they'll only give you a little bit. Like if you need the money, they'll be like, "Oh, well, we can only give you this much." It's like, but I'm literally dying of cancer and I need this surgery. Well, you only get like $100. But we're giving you money. No. And then they're profiting. It's not even like it. Insurance would make sense if it was about wealth redistribution, where it's like, okay, we are going to literally pay for the medical bills of those who need it most, like pay for it completely. But they don't even do that because they're profiting. It's literally just for profit. What a mess. Like insurance, big scam. So unless I'm legally required to have it, then I don't really see it. And actually, Celeste brings up a good point. She said, I'd rather have an emergency savings account than have to fight an insurance company for money. That hits the nail right on the head. Because $1,000 in my bank account is worth significantly more than $1,000 being paid to an insurance company for the chance to maybe get $1,000 back when I need it. No. It's better in your savings account, because at least then you're profiting off of your own money in a savings account because of interest. So I think that's a smarter way to do it. But yeah, that's one thing that I really don't see very many good arguments for, and that's insurance. Like I feel like people are okay with it because it's kind of just there, and it's like habitual, and also like sometimes you're legally required to have it, like with car insurance and things like that. But like, can that be the next fight in this country? Can we all just like decide to stand up and protest against insurance? Like, can we just abolish insurance? Can that be the next thing? Instead of all of these like just fake fights about things that honestly like may or may not even really be happening. But yeah. Okay. Is that where we're ending the conversation today? Oh, hold on. Amanda says, the only good thing I've experienced with health insurance was that they covered my birth control completely. But that should be free anyway, so is it really a win? That's fair. My mom says, okay, but do you have that 1,000 in your emergency account? Do you have an emergency account? No, I don't. But I would have even less if I was paying insurance. Like paying for health insurance, I mean. I would have even less. So while I don't have an emergency account and while I don't have, $1,000 sitting around, I have more than I would if I was paying for insurance. Plain and simple. So yeah, of course that's an issue. Of course that's an issue. Of course that's an issue. But again, if I was dying of dying of cancer, I need a surgical procedure, whatever. If I need something right now, first of all, a hospital, an emergency room has to keep a patient alive. So I have that working for me. And medical debt is ignored after a set amount of time. So I have that going for me. And see, this is the way that people think now, though, because like the cracks are showing. Like we're starting to see the flaws in the system, and so we take advantage of it. And that's kind of the same thing that happens across the board. Like anybody who thinks about any kind of system is going to try to like weasel their way into the most beneficial scenario. And I'm trying to think long term, I don't want to pay the hospital to keep me alive now. I don't want to pay an insurance company to maybe pay my hospital bills to keep me alive now. So why not let the hospital keep me alive, bill me for several $100,000, and then I just either live long enough for the debt to be ignored, to be, just to disappear, because that happens. That legally happens. I can't remember the amount of time, but that's why medical debt is the lowest priority of debt to pay back, is because eventually it just gets forgiven. I either live long enough for that to happen or I die and then it's not my problem. But that shows how bad of a system it is, because we're going to take advantage of it, and then it just passes the buck. It's the same problem with global warming. Anybody who is at all self-aware, unless they believe all this garbage, they know that this is a problem. They don't want to deal with it. And they're like, okay, well, I'm either going to deal with it if I have to, or I'm going to die before it's my problem. And that's how I feel about it too. Like, I don't do fuck all to help the environment. Like, actually, yeah, unless like really required to, I don't. And that is a problem. That shows a flaw in a system. But everybody's going to exist in a system in the most comfortable way that they can, for the most part. And so if you have a system that enables that, I don't think it's the people's fault. I think it's the system's fault. And we need to redesign the system, or accept the fact that people are going to do what people do, and they're going to just survive and try to be as comfortable as possible. And that's what we do. That's what we do. And I believe that it's the government's job to create a system that doesn't have cracks like that, but also like actually supports the people. And I guess to some extent, flaws and all, we have a system that, while it's cobbled together and held together with gum and duct tape and safety pins, and it's choking and wheezing on its own exhaust fumes, it's still chugging along. So there's that. Amanda says, I had that in my emergency account, and then I had to use it for a procedure that my insurance wouldn't cover, even though I pay for insurance to cover medical procedures. And that's in response to the $1,000 savings, I believe. So there's that. So insurance, if insurance is a gamble, if you're paying for a service that you may or may not receive, then you're not paying for a service. You're gambling. Insurance is a casino. It's a glorified casino. It's just like the stock market. And it's interesting to me that, like on the list of ways to be a responsible adult, like financially responsible and like as far as like, you know, you're ticking the boxes of being a good adult citizen, insurance is on there, investing in the stock market for your financial health and growth. And literally, it's just a big casino. Insurance is a casino, you're gambling. The stock market is a casino, you're gambling. All of it. Why does everything have to be a gamble? Why does life and the ability to continue living have to be a gamble? That's a question that I wish that more people would ask, because it shouldn't. It shouldn't have to be a gamble. And so any thing that is that, I don't even want to engage in it. I don't want to engage in a gamble because I don't want to gamble my life. I would rather give my money to someone who will literally eat it, who will eat the money, the paper money. I would rather give my money to somebody who's going to just eat it than give it to some random conglomerate that says one thing and lies about it and doesn't actually like give me any benefit or provide any service. I would have more fun watching somebody eat my money than give it to an insurance company, you know? And I think it's strange that so many people are comfortable with that. It's just very strange to me. Like, I don't know. I don't know. My mom is asking this, and I'm assuming that she's asking Amanda. But she says, why should birth control be free? If you feel like answering, then you can answer. My mom says emergency rooms suck now. I don't know if emergency rooms have ever been pleasant experiences. I mean, it's an emergency room. I will say, though, I kind of like emergency rooms. I know that that's shitty, but like, I like the idea of being in a room where people are taking care of you, and every now and then they bring a heated blanket. My least favorite part of the emergency room is when the person wheels in with the computer and they're like, what insurance do you have? Where can we send the bill? That's my least favorite part. But I mean, aside from the horrible pain and the, you know, you could be dying in an emergency room, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's an emergency room is almost like a, hello? Hi, I don't really know what happened, but I think my internet fucked up. But I think everything is still working. I apologize. Jesus. I apologize for the interruption. But anyways, I was just saying that I think an emergency room is kind of like a hotel where people take care of you. And that's kind of nice. My mom says the debt does not go away. Medical debt does. If you wait long enough, it does. I'll look up the amount of time. How long until medical debt is forgiven? In Kentucky, in 10 years. So in Kentucky, medical debt is it literally just disappears after 10 years. And that's like right here in Louisiana, 10 years, Maine, 6 years, Maryland, 3 years. And that's because somebody in our government decided that it was disgusting, the idea that somebody could be in astronomical medical debt due to an illness that was out of their control. We'll say cancer because that's the most emotional one, I guess. And so they decided that there was literally a statute of limitations on medical debt. So it is illegal for you to be billed by a hospital. And this is it's different from like if you take out a loan to pay medical debt, then that doesn't forgive the debt from the loan that you used to pay the medical debt. It's specifically the hospital cannot bill you after 10 years in Kentucky. It's different depending on the state. But medical debt does go away. It does. Other debt doesn't, but medical debt does. And that's why if you have a list of all of your debt, medical debt is the lowest priority. Lowest. Pay everything else first. Credit card debt is on the top because usually it has the highest interest rate. All the other shit is in the middle. And then on the bottom, last thing you got to worry about is medical debt. Legit. Like, I mean, you can look it up and everything. Medical debt does go away. So please, please, please. It's important that we tell people that. It's important that we tell people that. My mom says the government does not support the people. The government sucks. Yes and no. The government somewhat supports the people, and the government somewhat does not. The government does somewhat suck. But also the government, I mean, they kept me afloat during the pandemic. And as much as I disliked the person in charge during that period of time, I financially stayed afloat because of our government. We have roads that, while sometimes they aren't always taken care of, we have roads. There are things that the government can do better, but there are things that the government could be doing worse, So I think that, again, and I'm going to use one of my favorite words, I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I think it's very easy to say this entire thing and everything about it and all the people in it, they all suck and they're all shitty. It's very easy to say that because it's impossible to hold anyone accountable when you say that. It's impossible. Because if you say, okay, all of government is bad, then you have no comparison and you have no goalpost or there's nothing that you can hold people to. And that tells people, okay, we got to set the whole thing on fire, burn it all down, start over. And that's dangerous, I think. That's very, very dangerous when we live in a world in which we have a lot of benefits from having the government that we have. People always like to talk about, it's ironic because a lot of people, the same people who say that the government sucks are the same people, it seems, who are like, oh, well, you could go somewhere in the Middle East and you could just be murdered for being gay. Yeah, and the reason why I'm not murdered for being gay in the US, some exceptions may apply, but the reason why I'm not murdered for being gay in the US is because of our government. Because of our government. Because if it weren't for our government, I would be dead. And all of my black friends would be dead. And none of my female friends would be able to vote. None of my female friends would be in loving, happy relationships either. And government is a big part of that. And yes, all of these big changes that led to laws, that led to supporting and upholding our individual human rights came from people uprising, but we have a government that allows for that to happen and for change to occur and then be enacted through law. And that's thanks to our government because of the way that it was set up. So as much as I like to talk shit about our government, it has its perks. And I think that it's important to recognize that, because I don't want the narrative to be everything in the government sucks, because then you get a bunch of hooligans who just, their default is to disregard everything in the government. And if you get, and I don't mean to get like too ridiculously political, but we're literally talking about the government. But if you get politicians running for government who tell you that the government is not trustworthy, then you end up with people who will disregard that very government that creates the laws that govern how they are allowed to do business. And if they're willing to ignore one law, they're willing to ignore all of the laws. And I mean, that sounds like a logical fallacy, but the thing that makes our government work is the fact that there is a structure where there are rules, and people within the government have to follow those rules. People don't. They don't. You don't have to follow the law. You just suffer the consequences. But if enough people disagree, then they can change the government. But the government should not be able to change itself. And that is the way that our government is designed. It's designed, allegedly, and I know that there are exceptions, but it's held up surprisingly well. I did not think that it would hold up as well as it did, especially with some recent presidents. But the government cannot change the rules on itself without convening with groups of people and allowing for the democratic process, allowing for the representative process, all of that. It's not one person deciding the rules. And that is very, very important. And if you have somebody running for president who tells you that, you know, the rules of the government don't apply because the government is bullshit, then you suddenly have one person making the rules. And that is not healthy. I think that having a democratic republic, the way that we have it set up, it has held up surprisingly well. And I'm actually kind of baffled by that. And I think that that's worth, you know, being aware of and praising in a way, you know? But anyway, so the government does and does not support the people. The government does and does not suck. It doesn't have to be the whole entire thing, you know? So, you know, I don't mean to shut down certain talking points, but I think it's very important to throw in a little bit of hope, you know? Things suck sometimes, but we are not helpless. The government is shitty sometimes, but it does help sometimes too, you know? And I think that it's important to not completely give up on something, whether it's ourselves, whether it's other people, whether it's a governmental process. Unless it's health insurance, we can totally give up on health insurance because after 10 years, your medical debt goes away. So there's that. Historically, the stock market grows about 7% long-term or something. So it's not that much of a gamble. That's true. However, historically, it has crashed as well. And that has hurt a lot of people. And I mean, yeah, the stock market is a relatively safe investment, especially depending on how risky the stocks are, or how non-risky, how low risk the stocks that you're investing in are. But not that much of a gamble is still a gamble. And, like walking outside and breathing the air is also not that much of a gamble, but it's still a gamble. But these things exist on a spectrum. And when it comes to money, I wish that there wasn't so much pressure on adults to gamble at all. There's a lot of pressure to gamble, and it's almost like the idea is the only way for you to be successful is to gamble. That's literally how we build credit, is by going into debt. And I wish that wasn't the entryway into adulthood. Like everything that I was told as a kid is go into debt, risk your financial health, risk literally your life from this point on, because that's what it means to be a responsible adult. Something doesn't connect there. And if it weren't for Andreas, who had amazing credit, the minute that he was able to have a credit score, he had beautiful credit because he is a responsible adult and he made good decisions. And I also tried to make good decisions, but I was listening to the advice of adults in my life who told me the things that I needed to do in order to be a responsible adult. And it involved gambling, and I lost the gamble. And if it weren't for Andreas, I would be in a very bad position, honestly. And I mean, I don't wish that on anyone. And so I don't want anyone to have to gamble at all. And I wish that wasn't the norm. And I understand that we exist in a world where that is the norm. And most people come out of it unscathed, but it just makes me uncomfortable. Amanda says, at the end of the day, this is an answer to the birth control thing. At the end of the day, all medications should be free, because why are we profiting off of people being sick? Birth control is not just to prevent pregnancy. It helps with regulation, PCOS. I don't know what that means, etc. There's more to say, but I digress. Here's the loophole. All medications are free because medical debt is forgiven after 10 years. I'm just going to keep driving that point home. It's very important because I think a lot of people aren't aware of it, and they end up feeling a lot of stress and anxiety over their medical bills. Now, of course, like, again, there's exceptions and certain rules apply and things like that. But in terms of like being charged a medical bill in the mail by a hospital who treated you while you were there and gave you ibuprofen and decided to charge you $300 for one dose of ibuprofen, that debt is forgiven after 10 years. Now, the birth control, I don't know if that necessarily applies. Nothing over the counter applies unless it's given to you in a hospital. There's like all this shit. But anyways, I agree that all medication should be free, but I also personally believe that everything in life should be free. Basically, all basic necessities, which is for some reason controversial. But Jordan says, who else doesn't support the people? The Predator. He doesn't support the people, but he doesn't necessarily have anything against them. He just wants to hunt them, right? Isn't that the conclusion we came to? All right. My mom says, okay, but while you're waiting for it to disappear, your credit and everything is stifling. Example, Uncle Tommy in debt $250,000 for Pat's cancer and death. Yeah, it is crippling. And that's why our system of having everything hinge on debt and credit score is harmful. That system is bad. But in 10 years, he's not going to have to worry about the $250,000. So, and like I said before, and this is going to sound really shitty, but it's my, this is how I'm looking at it for myself. I either live 10 more years and I don't have to pay for it, or I die before the 10 years happens and I don't have to pay for it. So, yeah, the credit score does suffer. And it does make certain things very, very difficult for an adult in this country to do. Yes, it is shitty. And it's specifically a way to keep poor people poor. That's what it is. But it's a weird game. You can either pay that $250,000 or you can wait 10 years. In a way, it's still a gamble. And that's what makes me upset is so many things in this country are and I know I was just talking about how our government has somehow still managed to function and we should praise the government, but I think we should also critique the government where it's failing. And I think that these broad statements like government sucks, it's not specific enough. We need specific examples so we can come up with specific solutions. And for this one in particular, it's strange to me that, again, we're gambling so much of what it means to be a responsible adult in America, stereotypically, is just gambling. It's insurance. It's investing in a stock market. It's deciding whether or not to pay the medical bill or see if you live 10 years for it to go away or pass it on to somebody else. It's a shit game with shit cards that are dealt to people that deserve better. And I wish that it wasn't that way. And I'm curious what solutions there are to make it not that way. I'm very interested in that. But as of right now, in my opinion, the easiest route is have a bad credit score for 10 years and figure out something else until it goes away. And I know that sucks to hear, but literally what else should someone do? Like, there's no other solution. And that's a failing, in my opinion, of the medical industry. And it's a failing of, you know, laws that protect people from a predatory medical industry. Like if there's I don't know. I don't want to get more into that, but that's how I feel about it. At least that's how I feel right now. Subject to change. They didn't let us all die during the pandemic, and we have roads. Yeah, it is a low bar, but it's better than being dead and not having roads. I guess. I do need a nuanced tramp stamp. I love that word because it not only is it kind of fun to say, but like two of my favorite words when talking about issues, I guess, are nuance and context. Because with nuance, I think oftentimes people have a hard stance on something. And when you have a hard stance on something, it becomes more difficult for somebody, regardless of receiving new information or learning the facts or just learning in general or having a genuine conversation with somebody. If you have a hard belief, then nothing's going to change. And then it's just useless. It's useless having a conversation with somebody who, like, it's not a conversation at that point. You're just shouting bumper stickers to one another. You know, a bumper sticker is not going to change its mind. it's saying what it wants to say, and then it drives on so that the next person who unfortunately has to hear it hears it. And that's not a conversation at all. So nuance is important, because I think if you have a hard stance on something and you're unwilling to move, then you are not worth the time to talk to, period, point blank. And that's a hard stance. I'm just kidding. But honestly, like it's just not productive at that point. So it's important to remember the nuance, and it's important to remember that nothing in life is black and white. Nothing in life is binary. And we run into issues. Have you noticed that every time that there's a big problem where people are all button heads and they're at each other's throats, it's because it gets turned into something binary where there's right and there's wrong, or right and left, or literally black and white, or like anytime that something becomes this binary yes no, it starts to lose it's like not truthful at that point, because real world does not work that way. Computers do, but that's because they're designed by people, and that works in certain scenarios, but life is not one of those scenarios. And I think it's important to keep in mind the nuance, because otherwise you're not in reality. You're in binary land, or programming computer code world, but that's not our world. And unless you believe in the conspiracy theory that we're all in a computer simulation. But I do not think that life is that binary. I do not think that we're ones and zeros. I do not. And I mean, because every one and every zero that I've seen is all bent and misshapen in different ways. And, there's a lot of beauty in it. And so, yeah, nuance is important. Context is also important, because it's very easy to form an opinion on something when you have limited information. And so many people are so quick to come to some conclusion without the full context of the scenario. And people are very quick we see this a lot with, when people get up in arms about the latest hot button social justice issue. People are very quick, somebody says something off the top of their head, and people are quick to say, oh, that person is hateful, they're shitty, blah, 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 but they miss the full context. And I think it's important to understand the context, to understand that there's nuance to every scenario. It makes things a lot more truthful, in my opinion. It's more reflective of reality, but also it's just a lot less stressful, and it's a lot easier to exist in a world where it's not everything is a battle against evil, or, I am the righteous warrior. Life is so much easier when it's not that, and in my opinion, it's more fun. But anyways, I digress. My mom said, but the government people don't follow the rules. That's a humongous problem. That is a problem when people in the government don't follow the rules. And I think it's important that we call them out on it and we hold them accountable. And some people, thankfully, I think it's a majority of the people currently in our government, are trying to be vocal about it, and they're trying to hold people accountable. And it's important to understand and always ask yourself, who is following the rules within this government system, and who is defying them? And time again, I think that you will see that there's a pattern. And if somebody has no respect for those rules and they're running for president, then please do not vote for them. It's a very similar conversation that I was having around the time that a particular someone was running for government, or running for president. And it's just caused a bunch of problems. Ever since they became president, it's caused a bunch of problems. And it's because we're now questioning what the rules even are, because one person decided decided to I cut out for a little bit. My internet, I don't know what's wrong with my internet right now, but it wasn't cutting out this much before. But anyways, I think it's important that we respect that. There's a certain kind of sanctity to it, especially in this country, because it's literally all that we have. It's what's kept us going for so long, and it's what's kept us relatively safe. And the moment that we start ignoring that, and the moment that people within our government are not held accountable, is the moment that we as citizens become unsafe. And we saw a glimpse of that, surrounding 2020 and surrounding that president's election, particularly. We saw a glimpse of that, and it's not good. We need number one most important thing is the safety of citizens, in my opinion. And while it's not perfect right now, it's we're relatively safe, and I want it to stay that way. And I don't want somebody in power putting us in harm. And it's important that we hold those people in power accountable. And some people in our government right now are really trying. They're trying to hold certain people accountable, but they just don't care. Okay, my internet keeps going in and out. I think it's some conspiracy because I'm talking about the government. Anyways, I'm going to try to get through the comments super fast, and then I'm going to probably hop off because I'm going for way longer than an hour, but it's fine. Anyways, Amanda said, I take back my early statement. I'd like to be a tree instead of a rock. Being a rock seems like it would be a stiff life. I don't remember you saying that you wanted to be a rock, but okay. Being a tree sounds nice, yes. Do you think the predators have credit scores? No. And that's why they have more freedom. That's why they can land on a planet and they can do what they want. It's really just credit scores holding us back. My mom said, no, we told you no credit cards, pay cash, and have no debt. So I don't know who you were getting advice from. I don't want to have that conversation, but I was getting a lot of advice from a lot of people, and not just credit cards, but a lot of other things, certain loans and places that I should have been putting my money and all of that. I wish that I did things differently, but I didn't. And now, I'm dealing with the consequences. But I don't like pointing fingers. I don't want to play that game. I am where I am now, and I'm okay with that. Loophole, everyone pays for medications. I always had to pay for birth control many years ago, so why shouldn't you? It's actually an elective medication. See, I always thought that this was weird. Like this idea of I suffered, so why shouldn't you? Do we want a better life for those that come after us, or do we not? Do we want the same life for those who come after us, or do we not? I think that we need to ask ourselves what are we actually saying with this? Because to me, this statement it's less about, oh, let's improve a system, and it's more about feeling some kind of anger that you went through something that somebody else isn't, And I think that that's, while that's fair and that's justified, and I totally understand that, that's a different conversation than, okay, let's improve this system. And when speaking generally, I want the emphasis to be on improving the system and not necessarily on, okay, well, tit for tat, you know. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that way, you know. Davin says hi. Hello, Davin. Sorry it took me a while to get to your comment. I'm going through comments really slow. There's a lot of big topics here. Big topics. Amanda says, no roads, let's rebuild the country with bridges. Is that a Death Stranding reference? If so, I appreciate it and I love it. But also there's roads in Death Stranding as well. It's just the group rebuilding America is called Bridges. But anyways, if it wasn't a Death Stranding reference, the sentiment still stands. It's important to maintain mental flexibility, to be open to learning, unlearning, and relearning. Yes. The government lines their pockets on our dime. Some of them do. Well, I guess technically all of them do. Because they're literally public servants paid through tax money. But, yeah, literally that is correct. Yeah. Some more than others. Yeah. Davin says the government is silencing you. Yep, that's why my internet kept crapping out. Amanda says Predator doesn't care about the rules. Kat says you're such a breath air. Just wanted you to know I really enjoyed your live. I think what you meant is such a breath of fresh air. Hopefully I'm reading that correctly, and thank you. I appreciate you. And I honestly like having these kinds of conversations because I think it's important, honestly. I think that and this feels really one-sided because I'm literally talking to a camera and you guys are in a chat and I get to choose whose things get shown, but I'm trying to show most of everything that goes on there. But maybe some of these I can have somebody join me. Actually, I could technically invite somebody with a link and they can join this exact thing, and they, as long as they have their own camera or microphone or whatever, I can send them a link and they can join and be a guest or whatever. But anyways, I think that these conversations are important, and I just want to drive the idea home that nuance and context are maybe the two most powerful words when it comes to having conversations about big topics that can be scary and can be angry sometimes. Always understand the nuance, always understand the context. It kind of helps, and it makes things less heated. And sometimes it can still get heated, and that's okay. But yeah. Anyways. Da-da-da. All right. I made it through most of the comments. I don't think I need to share any others except for this one. Big iron on his hip. What does that mean? I feel like I should know what it means, but I thought it was referring to a gun. But like, what? Why? What are we doing? All right, I am going to play video games until I cannot keep my eyes open anymore and I fall asleep. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining. This has been a big one. Twice as long as the last time. God, my brain is not working right now. I am tired. Thanks for hanging out. Love, love, love. Yeah. I'm going to do this again next week. It'll probably be Sunday, maybe Monday. It really depends. I just want to do this on like a weekly basis. Some more love, love, love. Some more love, love, love. Thanks for all the love. I love love. More of that. Less big iron on his hips and more love on his hips. Oh, sorry, I keep yawning. All right. I'll see you all later. Love, love, love. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. See ya.